Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all my true crimers. Scary story listener. And witchcraft lovers. So tonight we are going to talk about mothers or women that kill. And the difference you see is, well, before we get into all that, I would like to say thank you for being a part of my channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking and commenting. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea the support and just love that I've gotten from all of you. So, thank you. Tonight we are going to talk about the fascinating minds behind the killer of a woman. What makes a woman kill? Well, here's the thing, my friends, is that the reason women kill people is for very similar reasons that a man does. Profit, pleasure, and revenge are all some of them. But the difference is that many women kill because they are motivated by the same things as men. However, they do it in a slightly different way. They do it because they are jealous, but they're not as aggressive as men tend to be. Women tend to use poison more than men use strangulation, and women stab far less than men. Okay, so now don't be surprised as we go through this that there are some pretty notorious female killers throughout history. All women have been killing just as long as men. But what makes this version a little bit different is that these are women that actually kill their children. They kill their children. So as much as murder is taboo in society, let me tell you what, killing your child is not okay. I don't care what circle you're in. There's no criminal, unless they have killed their own child in prison, that will accept a child molester or a child murderer. And as heinous as their crime might be, the most thought of as horrific or the worst crime against the innocent is even felt deep within the walls of the most sinister and dangerous prisons. Believe it or not. See, because a mother isn't just a parent, they develop a special bond with their child in the womb, and they create this child through 9 months of that bond makes a mother killing her children just that much more taboo. But why do some mothers kill their children out of jealousy, revenge, and some just are plain crazy? So, remember Andrea Yates? She murdered all 5 of her children. All 5 of her children. And, you know, Casey Anthony murdered her child, or, well, this is what I think about Casey Anthony's case. Casey Anthony, the prosecutors, instead of going after just a lower sentencing, wanted to go after, you know, the jugular. They wanted to put her away for or kill her. Well, because there was no real proof, and still to this day there are, you know, different sides on both these, you know, ideas of if she really killed it, or was it her father that helped her, or her boyfriend. You know, nobody really knows the truth except for Casey and her family. I believe but Casey is the only one who knows for sure. But that little girl was so cute. So Andrea Yates, all 5 of her children in cold blood. Susan Smith, back in the 90s, killed her children. There was another woman a couple of them who drowned their children in the back of the seat of their car because their new boyfriend did not want children. Now that is disgusting. I'm sorry. That is, I can't even. That I just want to smack them. Like if I had it, I want to kill them for them, and that makes me so angry as a mother that you could kill your children for a man. Oh, I literally could go berserk over this. I'm glad I wasn't on the jury. I'd put her to death that day. I don't care how crazy. I mean, that's not even crazy. That's because they were a bother to her. This woman's 3 children. They just put her in the trunk of the car and watched them die. Jessica Eaton, who killed her children and then phoned her husband afterward to tell him. That was in South Carolina. This drives me crazy. Christie Sheats, who was seemingly normal, average mother, is profiled as the killer that killed her children right in front of her husband. Because guess what? This witch wasn't gonna get everything she wanted out of the marriage, so she killed her children because she believed she was gonna lose everything. And of course, like I was talking about, the women who killed their children, Kelly Turner and Diane Stoddard, are 2 women who preyed on their children for money and did so in a way that was drawn out and painful. And Dina Schlossler and Isabel Martinez are 2 of the most bizarre killers of all, male or female, due to the strange reasons they gave for killing their family. Both women believe they had one way phone line to God fascinating and saddest part of true crime. The mothers that kill their children have always haunted me. Haunted me in my dreams. And I watch out for my daughter like crazy. I can't imagine killing her. Oh my god, I would die. Even on accident. Oh, it would be the end of my life. These mothers did it intentionally for men, for money, because they thought they were going to lose everything for God, for no reason at all. To prove to a man that they loved him more. Do you think they're still with that man now they're in prison? I don't know. Some people just cannot let go. Some people, no matter what, they lose their jobs when they know they've lost an argument, and often, especially when relationship is over. When a relationship is over, it just sometimes people will never admit to the cold hard fact of reality that is gone, that is over forever. So of course, with this subset of people, there's a spectrum, just like anything, okay? There's a spectrum. So just because you're one of those people who can't let go of a relationship doesn't mean you're gonna kill your children. That's not what I'm saying. So most just let these thoughts stew in their mind. They let these ideas kind of take over their life, but they don't kill their children. And eventually, it just hits them one day, and then they end up, back on the circuit or whatever. On the other spectrum are people who take extreme measures to get back or keep what they believe is rightfully theirs. Mine is what they say in their head. These people will manipulate you. They will lie, steal, and stalk their object until it ends badly for everybody. Nobody wins. And then there are the most intense cases. The extreme of not letting go. Not letting go. The rationalization of the situation by reacting in the most irrational way they possibly could in this lifetime. And then they take a life or lives, and then they destroy their own, they destroy their family, their friends. Everybody who knows them, they change their world forever. They're obsessed with their own lives in a fit of ultimate frustration. They take drastic moves. And the most disturbed will take the life end of their object and several other lives before taking their own, if they even bother to take their own, because they're that convinced that what is mine is mine. Just remember that. What is mine is mine. So, and a lot of times, drugs can be influenced, or alcohol, maybe to take an ex's life, or anyone nearby along with her. But occasionally women are the ones doing the killing in these cases, and that should not be surprising, should it? Women feel those same emotions as men when a relationship ends, especially if they are not the ones to end it. Okay, so women can obsess over things, and sometimes even women get even violent. Although it is more rare than it is more rare than it is with men. they can, yes, become as violent. So let's talk. Yes, my daughter's snoring. Would you like to hear her? She's ignoring me. On the evening, so Christie Sheats, let's start with this woman. On the evening of June 24th, 2016, 42-year-old, life ahead of her, life ahead of her. Yes, she does. She takes her sanity to a different level. Her sanity was crumbling. Her marriage was about to end, and she had lost all the respect of her family. So to punish her husband, what did Christie do? Well, the most desperate thing imaginable. The murder of her children. This is such a noticeable case because the killer mom thought about doing this for some time. She planned it. She planned this. She planned it. Okay? Planned it. Planned this precisely. I wanted to do killer moms, but it's so strange. I've done killer kids and killer dads, many killer people, but there's something about being a mom and then observing other mothers murdering their children that is so disturbing. She thought about this for months, planning precisely how she could elicit the greatest effect. The greatest effect. Okay, she's eliciting the greatest pain on her spouse, the man she married, the man she loved, or anyone witnessing the murder who mattered. And all in all, it took less than half an hour. But once the smoke cleared, Christie and her 45-year-old husband, Jason, two daughters, 17-year-old Madison, and 22-year-old Taylor were dead. And not long after seeing her handiwork, Christie would also be dead at the end of a Katy, Texas cul-de-sac. Now, my brother lived in Katy, Texas. It's a nice up-and-coming suburb of Houston, Texas. And it's kind of, I guess it can happen anywhere, but you would think that, it could happen anywhere. It doesn't really matter. Christie Sheats was born Christie Bird in the very average middle-class American town of Decatur, Alabama. Now, I'm very familiar with Decatur, Alabama, so life is slow and quiet in Decatur with very little crime. It is a place where neighbors still know and talk to each other and about each other. It is the South. Most people who are from Decatur like it and would not want to leave or live anywhere else because it is such a good place to raise a family, and it truly is. It is a nice little town. By all accounts, Christie's life's growth in Decatur was pretty normal. She grew up normal. There's no real evidence of abuse in the Bird home. In fact, Christie seemed to have been fairly well adjusted growing up in the 1980s and 90s. She had lots of friends. She dated. She took part in school activities, did well in school, got along with her friends, her family. She was popular. The truth is that Christie never had any major episode type of rebellion that so frequently marks the lives of teenagers. Everybody seems to go through some rebellious stage, right? She seemed to be the type of kid that any parent would want. was also where the family tragically ended on that hot June night. So what about the marriage was so horrific that made her kill her children and her husband. So the first few years, like any other relationship, was fine. You know, the wedded bliss is what they call it, or the honeymoon stage of any marriage. They moved into the suburban town of Katy, Texas, and they had 2 daughters, Taylor and Madison. The Sheats family did everything that a middle-class American suburb family does. They went to barbecues, block parties, and that is very much like Katy. When I went to visit my brother there, it was very much like block parties. My daughter and I, we would walk around the town, and it was great because the neighborhoods were close. Like my nieces and nephews, just to give you kind of a picture, my nieces and nephews' school was right across from their neighborhood, so they actually walked to school. So all the mothers would get together and walk their kids to school. It was very much a community neighborhood. And the Sheats family did everything that a middle-class American suburban family does. They went to barbecues and block parties, like I was saying. They went to on vacations. They presented an image of a stable, happy family. She was a beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman. Jason also had an American look. They appeared to be the perfect couple. And in so many of these true crime cases, you hear me say that there was the perfect couple, the perfect marriage, right? You hear me say that all the time. But the exterior of a happy family was a facade, and I try to tell my daughter that all the time because I am a single parent, and I tell her, I said, look, honey, life is always greener on the other side. You don't know what's really going on behind closed doors. But in this family, in the Sheats family, this facade was slowly falling apart. By the late 2000s, a couple had began arguing about how the girls were being raised. Now you remember how old they were when they were murdered, right? They were like 17 and 22. So, okay, they're grown girls. They're almost, the 22-year-old was a woman. So Taylor and Madison are apparently doing well. They've made it that far without too much trouble. You know, Christie had this disciplinarian side of her, this approach, where Jason preferred a more hands-off approach. He was more kind of like, you know what, let the girls make their own mistakes. We'll be there to help them in any really serious situation. But Christie wanted to know what they were doing at all times, and that is a controlling personality trait. That's not something I like. But let's see, the kids were getting older. Jason believed that Christie just went way too far sometimes, that disagreements turned into verbal arguments, but nothing ever went too far. Nothing got physical. The couple always seemed to be able to turn the page. I've been married before, we all have fights. Some of us can get over it, and some of us cannot. So, either you divorce and move on with your life and you deal with what you have gotten, or apparently you kill them. I don't know. So Jason's so easygoing. He's able to move on after arguments. Christie harbored these resentments and obsessed over every little detail, and she did not afraid of losing them? I don't know. I'm kind of throwing the question out there because it just seems like that seems a little strange. 17 and 22. That's kind of old to be arguing about how the kids are being raised. But maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it gets worse as they get older. I don't know. So Christie was also close to her grandfather. He was the one person who not only listened to all of her problems, but also seemed to understand. Okay, and he offered, legitimate solutions for all of them. Unfortunately, by late 2011, as Christie's mental health began to deteriorate, she began to count on her grandfather's counsel more and more. But unfortunately, tragedy struck. And in 2012, the death of her grandfather devastated the already emotionally unstable Christie Sheats. Instead of opening up to her husband and her daughters, she shut them out and retreated into a world of darkness, and a twisted world at that. As Christie, she's lamenting over the death of her beloved grandfather, and she just can't pull herself out of this. Remember, she really takes a situation and makes it 50 times worse than it really is. I mean, I'm not saying that losing a grandfather or parent or something isn't horrible, but to go off the deep end like this is out of line. Grandfather has died. And Christie's mom was actually closer to her grandfather than she was her own mother, which I find to be interesting. Christie's mom represented the last link to her childhood, which was a happier and more stable time in her life. Well, if that were the case, why would she kill her kids? Christie Sheats retreated once more to her dark world, but this time it would be for good. For good. She would never come out of this again. As her demons began to cling, Christie decided that she was no longer wanted. And she no longer wanted to deal with them or anything else. Meaning her demons or children, I guess. She kind of blended the two together. She attempted to kill herself 3 times in the early 2010s, resulting in extended mental stays each time. Mental stays. Now, I don't find this anything to joke about. When somebody has a mental illness, it needs to be taken seriously because something is wrong with her emotionally, to the point of murder eventually, but there has to be signs, I would think, leading up to this. But the Sheats family learned to deal with Christie's erratic nature, and after a while, her husband didn't leave or anything, or even welcomed her extended stays in the psych ward. So when she was home, she was constantly arguing with Jason, her husband, and the girls about some of the most mundane, stupid things. What they were wearing. They're 17 and 22, okay? From Jason, if he didn't come home, eventually you're not going to want to come home. I'm sorry, you're not going to, even as supportive as husband or wife can be. If somebody starts acting so erratically, they're going to argue to the death about what your kids are wearing. It's absolutely asinine. And if he didn't come home immediately after work, she wanted to know why. The arguments, they got so crazy that the police were called 14 times in 2012 alone. So Jason, the husband, knew that the situation was out of control, but he didn't know what to do. You remember, he's an easygoing Jason began to get a little scared. Christie's grandfather wasn't a wealthy man, so he did not leave her much, but she did get his prized possession, a 38 caliber pistol. That's what concerned Jason. And by God, that would concern me as well. With this, many times as the police had been called and her erratic behavior, I mean, you have to look back. She stayed in psych wards on the weekends, or to the point of where they became a welcome, stay for the family because they could get a little peace. That was not something that I would have wanted my husband, a woman, to, or if I was a man, wife who was acting this way, to be willed in by her grandfather. He knew it could be a problem. He had that gut instinct. So he said to her, why don't we lock it up just because of the kids? Christie would none of that. She's having none of that. No. That is not gonna happen in our world. Alright. Christie didn't like to be told what to do. She liked to tell other people what to do, but she didn't want to be told what to do. That's interesting, right? Christie did not like to be told what to do, but she wanted to govern everybody else, what they wore, what they did, where they went, what time they got home. Remember this, because Christie didn't want to be told what to do, and all her husband was suggesting was, hey, this is not something safe to have sitting out for guests, I don't care. When you have a pistol sitting out, it is a recipe for disaster if you are in a relationship or any kind of cantankerous situation. So, although Christie was a politically conservative, she was a modern woman who just didn't take well to men, including her husband, telling her what to do and how to run her life. She also believed in the Second Amendment, so the gun became another source of potential conflict that Jason decided to avoid because that was in his nature. He was easygoing. He wasn't gonna fight, because you know what? Some things are not worth fighting over. In fact, nothing is really worth fighting over, to be honest. In my mind. I mean, some people want to fight to the death. I'm just like, okay, you can fight by yourself, because I'm out of here. So the gun was the proverbial elephant in the middle of the room, sort of thing. Christie applied for a carry permit, but due to her mental health record and the number of times the police were called to the Sheets home, she was denied. Thank goodness. It's not easy to get denied for a carry permit in gun-loving Texas either, by the way. Okay, so that goes right there. I just want to point that out because that goes to show you how intense things got with her and her husband, okay? In the weeks leading up to June 24th, Jason was planning on making some important moves. He had talked with some of his family members about really over the edge, beyond my mental understanding and capacity. On June 24th, happened to be Jason's birthday. Isn't that nice? And although we had nothing special planned, he had hoped that Christie would not go into one of her increasingly unstable episodes. Jason attempted to talk to Christie rationally about separating, but she reacted negatively. Later in the day, Christie picked a fight with her oldest daughter about her fiance, she's picking a fight with her eldest daughter, who's 22, about her fiance. So she's engaged to a man. I mean, she's a grown adult. She's moving on with her life. Christie, she's picking this fight with her oldest daughter about her fiance, whom she was scheduled to marry only, oh my god, three days later, on June 27th. Oh my god, can you imagine what it does to the fiance? As Jason's birthday turned into just another awful but normal day, and the Sheats home frustrated, he told Christie that, that this will be the last birthday you are going to ruin, and unquote. Little did he know he was absolutely right. Because you don't tell Christie what to do you? Christie called a family meeting that evening in the living room under the pretense that all four would discuss the numerous family problems. Now we know that Christie doesn't discuss problems. She doesn't let things go. She doesn't rationally talk about anything. We know this from the past explanation of, the last 40 minutes of me talking about what's leading up to this horrific night. Of course, all of the problems had emanated from Christie, but that mattered little to her because she had decided to use her grandfather's 38, and that 38 was going to do all of Christie's talking. As soon as Christie convened the meeting, she reached into the cushions of the sofa she was sitting on and pulled out Grandpa's pistol. She had planned out this encounter hours, possibly days, possibly months earlier, thinking that Christie only intended to kill herself. Jason challenged her when he saw the gun. "Just shoot yourself," he said. "Make it easy on all of us. Just shoot yourself." Now, this is a man that loved her so much. He's like, "Please just kill yourself. You're driving us all nuts." Christie replied, letting her true intention to be known. "No," quote, she says, "that's not what this is about. This is about punishing you, and you. Okay?" She said, unquote. And at that point, Christie began to open fire on her two daughters. Oh, this is beyond my comprehension. I'm sorry. This is very emotional because I just can't imagine standing there and shooting my daughter. Oh my god, my baby girl. Jason and his daughters ran for the front door, making it outside, but Madison died on the lawn. Jason managed to call 911 during the attack, and he could be heard saying, quote, "I promise you whatever you want," unquote, to his wife, and she closed in to finish her diabolical work. As Taylor crawled across the front lawn, I mean, she's what? Okay, not only is this woman killing her children, she didn't just shoot them and it was over. She's actually chasing them down, killing them in their front yard. As Taylor crawled across the front lawn with every little bit of energy she had left, she reloaded. Oh my god, she reloaded the gun, went over to her daughter and fired 2 more shots. Like, this breaks my heart. It didn't take police long to arrive. Oh, this just breaks my heart. The quiet cul-de-sac. When they did, Christie was waiting. She pointed the gun at the officers, but was shot in the head and killed with a single shot. But at least, honestly, it was better than her hunting down her children. Think about it. You know, you as a child, you love your parents so much, you would never think that they would hunt you down like an animal in the woods, that they would kill you like this. Like, what in the world? Like, I think that's what shocks me and hurts me the most, is that, what? Like, you hunted me down and you killed me. I mean, she was shot in the head by cops. I mean, that one shot and she was dead. They didn't have to hunt her down. So Madison died at the scene from a single gunshot to the neck, while Tyler died later in the hospital from 3 gunshots to the head. Jason was uninjured, at least physically speaking, so he did not die. There's no question, though, that Jason Sheats will forever carry the tortured memory of how his wife destroyed his family on his birthday. I mean, it's hard for me not to cry, because that is just, I don't care how much I hated anybody in my life, I would never, for one, kill my child, but 2, in front of their father that loved them and loved me. I mean, he was willing to do whatever she wanted. I don't understand. I really don't. I don't understand this. So, and according to Christie's own words and the local law enforcement who investigated the case, that was her intent. He felt Christie, quote, he felt Christie wanted him to suffer, unquote. So not only did he lose his children, he lost his wife that he loved since high school. And I'm sorry, I know she created a lot of chaos in his life, but can you imagine the woman you love the most, you put up with all of these years to make it work for you and her, and just thinking that, you know, maybe she'll just let it go. But she didn't, and she carried it to a length that very few of us, hopefully none of us, will ever have to deal with. Quote, Christie knew how much he loved Taylor and Madison, and how much they loved him. Unquote. Christie, she could not let go of the life she once had, and that she probably could never get back if she could not be happy. Then neither could anyone else in her life. That is a selfish, narcissistic person. I'm sorry. Write all the nasty stuff you want about me, but I'm telling you, that is a human being that you think you know them since high school, and all they wanted to do was make your life miserable because they were unhappy. That is not fair. All I want to do when I wake up in the morning is make my child happy, make her feel good, make her smile, and she feels the same. And anybody around me, my dad and I argue, but that doesn't mean I don't love him or care about him. But to kill your own children, I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't understand this sort of behavior. I don't think I will ever understand this sort of behavior. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed going to be happy? If I can't have my children and you, then you will not have me or the children, and you're going to suffer on your birthday. Don't tell me this wasn't planned out since the moment, even before maybe she talked about it with her grandfather. Who knows? I don't know what kind of person he was. It doesn't say. All I know is that I find it strange that he would will his .38 caliber to a woman with such a dramatic mental past. I mean, that's like giving cyanide to somebody who wants to poison somebody. Here you go. I'm gonna will you this cyanide so you can kill your family. Here's a gun. Shoot them all. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but that is what I'm seeing here. Is that it's just I don't know. It's just beyond. There's one thing is accidents when you kill your family, an accident, and a gun goes off. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I get that, and there's mental illnesses, but this woman literally just wanted to take control of their lives, of their lives, of their lives, of their lives, of their lives. She did not want them to be happy. She did not want them to be happy. I don't know why. Because the thing is, they wanted her to be happy. That's all they wanted. They wanted her to be happy. That's all they wanted from her, was for her to be happy, to be happy, right? So why couldn't she want them to feel the same happiness? Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining me in this terrible, terrible, terrible case that breaks my heart. Relax, 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 relax. So be safe, be happy, appreciate what you have and who you have in your life. Really think about it, because sometimes the rainbow is right in front of you. It's not a storm, it's a rainbow. So, I love you all. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you later. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.